I want you to look around. Tell me if there's anything that you notice or anything that stands out to you in this place.
The blue sky. There's a lot of birds. It's quiet, peaceful. It feels alive, like it has consciousness.
Tell me more about that. How does it feel that it has consciousness?
It's like it interacts with me if I'm paying attention. And it does so just as the normal course. But I'm normally not paying attention. And it's somehow, I think collective consciousness is too strong, but it has intent and direction, and it notices me noticing it.
Tell me how it is that you're connected in to the collective consciousness.
Seems like it's a shift of perspective. It offers a knowingness about what's right and true. It's celebrating God's presence somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's always switched on. But I generally don't notice.
So, how is it in your day-to-day life that you can begin to notice this consciousness that's all around you?
To look and to listen, and to let go of the thinking about it. Practicing the presence of it. And feeling my breath as part of the rhythm of it. That rhythm that's always ongoing anyway. It's like being in the water and forgetting that we're in the water. And then you notice there's water all around you. I don't know, it's a shift in perspective somehow. I want to cooperate with it. It wants to cooperate with me. But there's no big plan, there's being.
Tell me more about that being. Why is it important for us to be in the present moment, be in a rhythm of breath? How does that assist us?
It gives us full use of our faculties somehow. And it allows everything to be switched on. But working in a state of flow, not mechanically working step by step, just flowing in and out with the breath. Seems more is possible when it's cooperated with.
And so, in this state of flow that allows us to experience more, how is it that Myrna needs to tap into this flow state in her life? What is it that she needs to understand about that?
That it's always present. It's undergirded with some kind of loving kindness, some beneficial can't describe it. It's a kind of sweet nature. It's a kind of all the atoms singing together in kind of a jubilee, kind of a galactic joy. I don't know how to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
All good all the time, but without much demarcation. It's just flow.
So, as you're in this space, surrounded by this beautiful consciousness, in this present moment, in this beautiful state of flow, tell me what else you notice. What else are you experiencing? What do you feel?
I felt like my heart was lifted. It felt restorative, like this is how you mend or become restored, is to be in that flow again.
And so just allow yourself to deeply connect into that energy, into that state of flow, pulling that energy throughout the body, allowing yourself to feel what it feels like to be in that beautiful state of flow, understanding how to incorporate that energy into your everyday life so that you can begin to transform your life into the life that you desire. And as you connect in that energy, what else is important for you to know? What comes to you?
There's a kind of unspoken wisdom. There isn't so much answers as there is a sense of certainty about things unfolding as they should, a kind of positive certainty, but not like answers to questions, more clear direction in flow. There's no thinking really, just knowing.
How is it that one can tap more into their knowing and move away from that thinking mind that can sometimes keep us stuck?
Starting with the breath and surrendering to the rhythm, and then letting go of any thinking. Just the presence of the breath.
And so, how would the presence of the breath and the breath work, the rhythm of breathing, how would that begin to shift Myrna's experience? What would she experience if she began to do that work?
A sense of oneness, a kind of belonging, a sense of certainty about direction. There's more peace there.
Very good. And so she's wondering about moving forward, her path in this life. What can you tell her about her path? What is she here to do?
To awaken and to help others awaken as well. So as she learns, she can share what she's learned and be a guide or an example of what's possible.
She wonders how can she help during this ascension process that we're moving through. What specifically can she do to help others?
Insist on valuing the spiritual journey, encouraging others and modeling that valuing of a spiritual component to life. Encouraging and reinforcing the value of that journey, that effort, by doing it for herself as she also does it for others.
Very good. And can you share with her anything about her role moving forward as we move even forward, even more closely to 5D New Earth? What will she be doing?
The work of her own evolution, and then offering to guide others in theirs in a way they can feel safe and peaceful and encouraged. To help facilitate that.
Very good. And she's become interested in learning QHHT and BQH, doing quantum healing work with her clients in her coaching practice. Is this part of her path?
It is a component.
What can you tell her about that?
That it's unfolding as it should. As she sees next steps, she should take them. But not to have any rush or haste. As much time should be spent on her own unfolding as is spent on helping others unfold. And she prioritizes the others. So she needs to strike a balance. Her own unfolding contributes greatly to what she can provide for others, and it should not be neglected.
Very good. So she has worked on a TED Talk in the past with some coaching, and she's wondering if this is something that she might do again in the future. What can you share with her?
She should explore it. If the timing is right, it will come together, and if the timing is not right, it won't. Not to have attachment to it.
Very good. And she wants a little bit of help with how she can improve her discernment of other people and situations. She feels like she's made some poor choices with business partners and friends, and sometimes feels taken advantage of. What can you tell her about that?
She signed up for that. She has been doing a lot of housekeeping. Her discernment continues to refine. She needs practice. She'll get that practice.
What's a way that she can know in the future that she's connecting with the right type of person or the right friends?
She can ask more questions. She can continually realign to the larger mission. And if what's unfolding is fulfilling that mission, then it's unfolding as it should. Continue to realign with the larger goal. There will be ups and downs and changes along the way, and that's just the way it is. It's not necessarily right or wrong. She can detach to taking those things personally and focus on the work itself.
Very good. And so she's working on these new modalities and her coaching business, and she wants to bring more abundance and prosperity in her life. What can she do to bring that abundance into reality?
Some of it is allowing. When she's in flow, she's more successful. Setting down struggle and feelings of things being burdensome. She should keep turning into where she's finding flow. That's the right direction.
And so, as you scan through the body, just doing a nice scan, is there anything from a past life or anything that may be blocking the flow of abundance within her that needs to be released?
There seems to be a blockage in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
Some at the throat. Tightness. Just there.
Where is that tightness? Is that tightness in the throat?
And in the heart chakra.
Okay. What do we need to do to begin to release that energy and open up that flow of abundance within her?
There's some fear around trauma.
Mm.
Releasing that fear.
Is that trauma?
tightness.
Is that trauma tied to the current life experiences that she had early in life?
It's past and present.
Okay. Can we begin to release that energy for her today, that fear?
Yes.
Okay. And just visualizing or feeling that energy release from the body, asking the higher self to assist in that releasing in the heart, those traumas no longer needed to experience that energy, that throat, having that energy drain out of the body, just giving all of that energy to Gaia, feeling that heaviness, that thickness, that tightness completely dissolving and leaving the body. And what color light would you like to use for healing?
Well, pearlized white.
Beautiful. So, asking the higher self and the guides working with us today to bring in that beautiful pearlized white, flowing that energy in through the crown, swirling it through the third eye, opening and expanding that chakra as needed, bringing that energy down into the throat, transmuting and releasing any fears, any trauma that is stored there, opening and expanding that chakra, bringing it down into the heart, really flowing that energy into that space, making it so bright. Just allowing that energy to flow all throughout your body. And as you feel that energy, tell me what you notice, what you experience.
It felt like fear and panic from a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
From when I was a little girl.
Yes.
Not knowing what to do with being so afraid and not knowing what happened and not knowing what to do.
Mm-hmm. So I want you to see that younger version of yourself. And I want you to surround her in that same beautiful pearlized white energy. And as you encompass her in that energy, bringing in the feeling of safety and security, just coding that experience that she had as a young child and just completely releasing it, transforming it. And you can even visualize placing your arms, wrapping your arms around this younger version of yourself and telling her that she turned out just fine and that she's safe and that you've got her. Tell me what you notice or how you feel.
I didn't really have permission to protect her.
Mm.
I was supposed to just live with it.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I feel permission now to love myself past it and through it, to be protected and loved, to release the unspoken fear and the fright and the not knowing what to do to make it better,
Mm.
that I can be loved through it and release it. So
Very
it's
good.
transmuted.
Beautiful.
I no longer carry it.
Beautiful. Very good. As we take just a moment to just get a deeper understanding of that first experience when she was so young, why is it that she needed to experience that, or why was that experience part of her reality?
I don't know other than karmic debt.
Hmm.
I don't know other than she was slow to develop a callus to her heart. She was hurt a lot over and over and over again. And this catalyst shut some of that down so she could protect her heart and be more careful. As the heart is expanding now, it feels it has more utility. It has more area that's working.
Very good.
It's
What
not needed now, the protection. It's
beautiful.
not needed.
So just continue to flood that beautiful pearlized white light into that heart space. We're setting the intention that any walls or blocks, anything that was stored or created in the heart space from those experiences is just being gently released from the body and transformed, allowing that flow of energy and love to be able to come into your life so easily. And so she experienced another experience similar to the one when she was 4, when she was in her 20s. Why did that experience happen then?
It was an incarnation opportunity. That agreement, though, could not be fulfilled. I don't know why the trauma, what it was a catalyst for, but she was not able to fulfill that agreement. It was too big. It was too hard. It was too much.
So she says she feels like she's carried a little bit of shame for the choices that she made. What does she need to know or understand about that?
She was permitted to exercise her free will there. She used her judgment and discernment about whether she could withstand that burden. She did not feel strong enough. She was not supported enough in life to stand alone for years that way. And she declined, and it's okay. She accepted it another way.
And so the soul that she chose not to bring into this lifetime at that time, because it was a little too difficult, what happens to that soul? What choice do they make after that decision?
It has other incarnation possibilities, opportunities, other agreements. There's no hard feelings, if that makes any sense.
It does.
was just too much. And it's okay that she said no.
Very good. And she said she's experienced some grief in the gut area. Can we check that area and see if she's holding any of those traumas in that area today?
It seems energized.
Okay, very good.
It doesn't seem to be harboring any more grief.
Wonderful. And just bringing in those energies in the session to make sure she's completely released of all of those dense, heavy energies. So she has had a little bit of lung congestion. She had the H1N1 flu when it was going around, and she feels like her lungs never came back fully. What's happening there as we take a look at those lungs?
They should be stronger. She should do some work around stamina and lung capacity. They can be healed. She'll have to work deliberately to do it.
Very good. And so as she works with breathing and bringing more breath into the lungs for expansion, can we also do some healing to those lungs today, assisting in that process of healing for her?
Yes.
Very good. Just bringing in and feeling the energy flow into the lungs with the intention of healing any damage, bringing those lungs back to full capacity, helping you to bring more of the breath into the body. Very good. And she has some pretty significant cedar allergies, and she felt like that led into a flu that she just recently had. Why is she struggling with those allergies so much?
It kept her indoors. It kept her isolated. She has needed that downtime. It's healing. This may be her last cedar winter. She can restore her breath and respiratory health. It can be healed.
Okay. And other than the breath work that she needs to do, what else can she do to heal those allergies?
Physical exercise to strengthen her breath stamina. Physical fitness around that, where she works out the lungs themselves and makes those muscles stronger. And breath work that moves energy in and out of her body in a healing way. She should work on that, deliberately doing that.
Very good. And if there's anything from an energetic standpoint that we can do today to alleviate that for her, we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so she's wanting to get into better shape, into better health, anything that she needs to know um, to, to help her through that journey.
To set that intention and then consistently follow through. To do it in small steps and not make a federal case out of it. But small steps, multiple times a week, until it becomes her default way of being. It can become that. She would feel better if it did.
Very good. Very good. And so she has some issues with her teeth. Some of them are cracked, and she hasn't found the right person yet to assist her with that. But she's wondering, what should she do with those teeth? What would you suggest for her?
Open up her eyes for discovery for the right person. To relax, but that the right person will be identified who can help her with the best outcome for her. It's underway. It will come to her, and then she'll do what's needed with the person that has appeared to help her. Be exploring, and then when it's obvious what to do, she'll do those steps. For now, be open to it and exploring, and don't be worried about it.
Is there anything that we can do at this time to heal our teeth when they're not in the greatest shape?
To set the intention, and more will come about teeth. We will be learning a lot more. And the time just isn't now. It's not yet. But it's not too long.
From your perspective, do you see new technologies and things coming in the future that will help us? So many people have issues with their teeth.
And a way for the teeth to repair themselves.
Oh, nice.
For them to be restored and to repair themselves. There are processes we just don't understand. But they're in the body. So it's allowing that to unfold.
Beautiful. Very good. She wonders, she said there's several in her family that also have issues with teeth. Is there an energetic reason that her family is dealing with the teeth issues? Any connection there?
It just seems heredity.
Okay.
It just seems the line of you incarnating into these people. It's a component of them. No particular reason.
Very good. And if we can also bring in some healing energies and frequencies into the teeth to reverse any of the damage or to stop any future damage, just flowing that beautiful energy into the jaw and the teeth and the gums, and just feeling that energy flow throughout the mouth, and just assisting in any way that that energy can assist at this time. Very good. So she wonders about her spiritual gifts. What spiritual gifts did she bring with her into this life?
She has a knowing, an intuition that she's had access to all along. She can intuitively know things, get on somebody's wavelength, perceive what they're feeling, be able to speak to them in a way that uniquely can hear her. And she has a sensibility sometimes about who people are or how things are working. It's a knowingness and intuition that was turned on when she got here.
And she wonders, are there any additional spiritual gifts that can be unlocked for her?
Yes. It's underway. As they offer value in her life, they'll awaken more. As they become useful.
And she wonders, does she have any connection to shamanic gifts? She had any connections in past lives, possibly?
Yes, and she's resistant to those. They think it's funny.
Why is she resistant?
She wants things to make sense, and the shamanic world doesn't make sense. So she resists. Her fail-safe to know when she's fooling herself or making up a story, she could use her brain and have things make sense. So then she wasn't too far astray. Shamanic things don't make sense. So it feels like she can get lost there, not find her way back. It doesn't have the tether to the rational mind, so it's scary that way. It feels like it might swallow her up, and then she won't make sense to people anymore. She doesn't want to be a spiritual fool or someone who's so lost in the knowingness that doesn't have language attached. So she's resistant. It's coming whether she wants it or not. It doesn't matter. And as she lets go of her resistance, she'll find it's not going to subsume her. It's not going to let her be lost. She will be part of that oneness forever. She can't be truly lost. So she doesn't have to have it all make sense anymore.
Very good. And what was happening with the experience with the dog where she just felt like she was connected in with the knowing of how to handle that situation? What was happening there?
It was this spontaneous exercise of power and connectedness in the solar plexus with all things, coming out of her head and out of her heart into her powerful lower chakras. She exercised that power and took a stand and was the most powerful being in the room. And there was no question. It was just exercised, and everything responded to it because it was the natural order, and it just unfolded that way. She hasn't given herself permission to feel that way really before. That's a lot of power, and none of it makes sense, but it was right and true and had an equilibrium. She stood in her power, and everything was fine. And as she blossoms spiritually, she'll have more opportunities to stand in her power. And it just is what it is. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Very good. And as she was feeling into the energy of the solar plexus, can we take a look at those lower three chakras and see if there's anything that needs to be released or balanced?
It's rusty. It feels, I say it's not, it's kind of clunky and rusty and
Mm-hmm.
unused, and I guess just more allowing. As she uses her physical body more, the power flowing through the physical body, including the lower chakras, will become more normal. It won't feel so locked up. It'll feel flow, just like her heart feels flow and her mind feels flow. She needs to let the bottom half of her feel flow as well. And physically using her body will allow for that. And that flow will feel natural. And there's nothing to be done but to allow it and to routinely exercise it. So she needs to allow her whole body to feel the flow, not just her heart center and her mind.
Very good. And while we're in here energetically, let's just bring some of that beautiful energy that we've been working with down into the solar plexus. I want you just to imagine the solar plexus is radiating with a beautiful sun, just a bright, shining yellow sun, gold and yellow energy, and expanding that out in that chakra, allowing that energy to permeate all of the cells and organs around that area, and bringing that flow of energy, that beautiful sunlight, down into the sacral and the root, with the purpose of re-energizing those chakras, beginning to allow the energy to flow in an even more smoothly manner throughout the body. Just expand that energy out in the sacral and the root, just activating those chakras and bringing them back online even more fully. And tell me how that feels or what you notice.
I feel more unity with the rest of my body. It doesn't feel so separated or shut off. It feels that it's resonating, that the atoms are vibrating together again, and that I can have flow of energy through there again, as it is designed to be. I'm restoring the natural design and allowing it again. It feels integrating.
Very good. We'll just ask the higher self to continue to flow that energy through all of the chakras, expanding that out and making sure that energy can flow through easily and effortlessly after the session. So, as we are connected very strongly to the higher self at this moment, she wants to know, how can she begin to hear you and her higher guidance more clearly?
Discipline and repetition. So she should reestablish a routine that includes exercise and meditation daily and breath work. She's set up a yoga routine and needs to return to it so that she's lubricating the physical and the non-physical interaction and integration together, and that discipline of daily practice will facilitate the flow and the allowing of these gifts to unlock. Then she will hear all the time. It's always available, but she gets centered in mind or gets centered in heart and doesn't stay fully integrated. So as she does that routinely, it'll get switched on and stay on instead of switching off and on. But she's close to that now.
Very good. And she says she has these precognitive thoughts. Tell her a little bit about those. What are those thoughts and visions that she has?
It was a kind of guidance. She has some remarkable visual acuity and a very pronounced imagination, and can hold on to pictures. That visual guidance, that precognitive snapshot was a way to let her know there is a larger plan unfolding, even in times of distress. That what she's experiencing, it isn't the first time she's seen it. It's the first time it's happened. Other things will also happen. It's a reminder that it's a continuous state. None of it stands still. It's moving along a line. The good will move on, the bad will move on, the indifferent, it moves on, all of it moves on. A moment in time is just that, a moment. But larger forces are at play. There's overarching value to some things, even if in the moment of the snapshot there's only this glimpse of how it plays out in the bigger picture. It's a reminder that there is a bigger picture, and this was helpful to her.
Very good. Very good. She said she noticed one night a being that was sort of peeking in the window at her. She said this being looked almost two-dimensional, like a flat image. What was What was she experiencing there?
The unlocking of her second sight, the unlocking of perceptions that she's had switched off, and it was just a delightful moment. It didn't have larger meaning other than sight is being returned, and more will be seen. And as her spiritual evolution continues, some meaning can be taken from some of these things, and some of them are just things she bears witness to. They don't have larger meaning. And this was something she bore witness to, something she saw, and she will see other things too. Some of them will have meaning and value, and some of them will just be. It seems like she's warming up to seeing things, and this was one of them.
Very good. So, will she begin to see more things like this in the future?
Many different things. We encourage her not to become attached to all the different things she can see. Her mission is what her mission is, regardless of what she can see. Some of it will help her, and some of it she'll just bear witness to. She doesn't need to attach to them.
Very good. She feels like her son came into this life and is having a little bit of a difficult time, a little bit unhappy in this lifetime. What can you tell her about that?
He's very powerful. He's making his own choices. He's disappointed about mankind, and he's not wrong. He can be more emotionally even balanced when he chooses to be. And sometimes he chooses that, and sometimes he does not. He has matured rapidly in recent years and is waiting for much of this veil to be lifted so that the world makes sense to him the way he's always been able to see it.
Mm.
He has a lot of company, other people that are switched on, who don't like what they see and see it anyway, and just make the best of it that they can. It'll get better for him.
So is he still tuned in to just almost like an inner knowing of what life should be like, maybe from a past or a other type of life that he's lived?
He's very clear about what's possible in this world, and that we're not remotely fulfilling our possibilities. We're not remotely living to our capacity, and that people make negative choices day after day after day after day and just continue to rinse and repeat. And it's discouraging to him to see people do that, so he has withdrawn from people for the most part, rather than continue to be hurt by a series of poor choices over and over again. And so the time will come soon. He won't have to withdraw. He can celebrate people expanding and making better choices, and some of this negative veil will be lifted. He can be free to be his true self, which he's had to hide under a bushel for a long time.
And what can you tell her about the reason that her husband chose not to be in her son's life? What does she need to understand about that?
He just fulfilled the karmic agreement to
Hmm.
sire the child, and he offered her a negative catalyst to be a single parent. That was his role. He had a long, difficult contract with his son, and they've completed that. So he was doing his part as the villain in the story, and that's what he agreed to, and that's what he did.
And so, from a soul's perspective, they each chose to have this experience. Is that correct?
Yes, it allowed his son to struggle and stand on his own 2 feet
Mm.
in a negative catalyst way, to push back and to be different than that, and to learn the kind of man he wanted to be versus the kind of man his father was.
Very good. Very good. And so she has moved quite a few times throughout her life and feels like she doesn't ever have a real good, stable home life or family. Tell her why that's happening.
It is contracted. It's what she signed up for. I'm not sure, other than general housekeeping, contract after contract after contract after contract, to stop and start and stop and start on all those different storylines. She's had to rely on herself. She's had to do the right thing when the wrong thing was being done to her over and over again. I think some of this is paying dues for karmic debts, and some of it is also strengthening her for what's to come.
Has she cleared out that karmic debt now? Or is she still working on that?
Most of it. Most of it. I think as the ascension unfolds, things are changing in sweeping changes. So she's wrapping up the housekeeping. Now, I don't know what lies before her, but much of the bulk of this place to place to place has been completed.
Okay. So, is there anything that she can do to bring more stability into her life?
No, it's unfolding as it should.
Okay. Very good.
It will be more stable, but some kind of ascension way, which doesn't make sense right now.
Okay.
It's not the sense making that things are now.
Mm.
But she has less concern about it.
Okay.
She feels stabilized in whatever that looks like there and then. She doesn't feel so tribal that she's constantly on the move. She feels more stabilized in whatever that future stability looks like.
Okay. Is it possible that there are different paths that she can take?
It's pretty much one path.
Okay.
It's pretty solid. There's odds and ends that are being swept up now, and then it's pretty solid. Less volatility, less disruption in the future.
Very good. And she's wondering if she has a partner in the future, a possible husband that she will meet. Can you share anything with her about that?
It's possible. That's all I have about that. It's certainly possible.
Okay.
But there isn't a sense of certainty.
Hmm.
There's a sense of it's possible, it would be welcome, it would support her mission, but it is not a requirement or a necessity.
Okay. Very good. Are there any final messages that you'd like to bring in for her today? Anything else important she needs to know?
The future looks bright. I don't know how to say it. Lots of positive outcomes and a sense of ease about things for the first time in a long time.
Hmm.
That things are unfolding with some ease. That she can rely upon that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. How were Myrna and I connected for this session today?
I think some of our guides know each other, even though we haven't really met. Our people know each other. Our guides know each other.
I love that. Thank you so much to the guides for bringing Myrna and I together today. And thank you to the higher self and the beings that were here with us for bringing through this beautiful information. Anything else? Any final thoughts? Or are we complete today?
Thank you. I think we're complete today.
Very good.